What's going on there, guys? Good afternoon. It's the Earthmaster here on the live stream with an update video on this Wednesday, July 6, 2022 date, about 12:07 p.m. California time. Latest quake looks like there's a 1.3 here in the area of California. We have seen a little bit of movement there ramping up today. Let's go ahead and check out the latest activity here on the USGS map showing the Southern California region. Showing a little bit of sign of activity today. This is a 2.5 map and above. Had a 3.5 earthquake earlier this morning near the Bodfish area. I can't remember exactly how you pronounce that, but somewhat of a stronger earthquake down there for that region. Just to the east of Bakersfield and to the west of the Ridgecrest area. Uncertain on which fault system this occurred on. It was pretty shallow at about 2.9 kilometers. USGS not showing any prominent faults here. It looks like it's definitely north of the Garlock fault structure, kind of down towards the southern end of the Sierra Nevada mountains. So a little activity kicking up there today. Also up here around the Long Valley supervolcano, had a 2.9 earthquake coming in within the last hour. Bringing up the all magnitudes map here, still shows little activity throughout the Long Valley region, and also down here in the Ridgecrest area. Those are all aftershocks from the earthquake activity, July 4th, July 5th, back in 2019. The 6-pointer and the 7-pointer that struck down there on those respective days. Just goes to show you aftershock activity can continue for months and years to come. Looks like there was a little aftershock sequence here after that 3.5 near the Lake Isabella area, just southeast of there. Roughly about the same depth there for a 1.1. So a little bit of movement kicking up here in the Southern California region. Also down south here along the southern segment of the San Andreas Fault, kind of towards the northern end, just north of the southern segment, I should say, outside of Desert Hot Springs. Low activity right smack dab, somewhat deep as well, about 19 kilometers on the San Andreas Fault here. It's the San Bernardino Mountain section, South Branch. This is the area where the big one down south here will hit an 8.1 or greater in the future, no doubt. Each day, each year that we don't see that release of built-up pressure, and by the way, it's been building up for over 300 years now, then each day is a day closer to the big one for Southern California. That's a scenario, not a what's the word I'm looking for? Not a maybe. It's going to happen, that's for sure. That's in its near future for Southern Cal, unfortunately. Down here in the Mexicali area, looks like the swarming activity that we monitored yesterday is somewhat tapered off. Looks like only a couple small microquakes today in that region. One earthquake up here on the San Andreas Fault of the... actually, it looks like it's just off there in between this... what is that? San Gregorio Fault Zone. Don't know too much about this one, but I know it's just right off the San Andreas Fault here outside of Pacifica. A little small microquake in that area. Let's go ahead and check out the latest on the Long Valley supervolcano here. This area did see a swarm of activity, of course, over the last week or so. This is the recorded seismograph stations here, monitoring the earthquake activity specifically and locally here at the Long Valley seismograph. There's only maybe a very small handful of small microquakes here. These other quakes are going to be the distant quake, the 3.5 near the Bodfish area, Podfish, and this earthquake that struck, let's see exactly where that one's at. That's probably going to be the 2.9 that just struck here within the last hour at 1851 right here, 2.9. So the seismograph station definitely working, tuned properly. I'm not seeing any signs of any type of other activity here on the map at the Long Valley supervolcano. Calm for now is the key up here in the Cobb Mountain area of the Northern California region, right around the hydrothermal field out there. Quite a bit of earthquakes today, including one ways away from here near the Hidden Valley Lake area. Looks like a 1.6 at 8 kilometers north of Lake Berryessa. As far as the Cascadia subduction zone goes, one earthquake back building here right on it, right smack dab on the Cascadia megathrust area. Got a 2.2 at 9.1 kilometers, so little activity there on the southern end. Movement through the Utah area, kind of spotty, even up into Wyoming, Montana, and the Idaho area, all just kind of looking at some spotty earthquake activity, including a 3.3 near the Stanley, Idaho area on the Sawtooth Fault Zone, an area that's seen was it upper 5 or lower 6 there a couple years ago. Aftershock sequences continue in this area as well, similar to the Ridgecrest area of California. Many months and many years following large quakes. Let's see what else we got up here around the north of Portland. Got a little earthquake out here. Looks like a 1.0. This one's pretty deep though, 21 kilometers. A little bit of deeper earthquake activity there, striking in that region, associated here with the Cascadia subduction zone. Throughout the southern plains, a little spotty activity throughout the beautiful state. I should say right around the border of the beautiful states of Kansas and Oklahoma. One day I will be calling one of these places my home. Just not for sure. Actually, I'm kind of thinking about Kansas, Oklahoma, or Texas. I'm a weather guy, so I have to have the severe weather around me. One of these 3 states. I gotta have snow in the wintertime. I'm tired of 115 degrees every day and no rain in the winter. I live here in Northern California, by the way, here in the Sacramento Valley. I like to call this area the Second Death Valley because it cooks very similar to the Death Valley area down south, except for this is kind of the large Death Valley area, Sacramento Valley. All right. Appalachian Mountains here. Got one earthquake here near the Pittman Center of Tennessee. Pretty shallow, 2.4 earlier this morning, it looks like. And, of course, out here around Pecos, Texas, some activity kicking off there in the oil fields. See what else we got globally. Alaska still seeing quite a bit of movement up there. One earthquake around the Aleutian Trench at a 4.8, 44 kilometers. And Japan activity. Most of this movement here from Japan was yesterday, except for one 4.8, and of course that's the one over here by the Aleutian Trench. So it looks like the majority, if not all of this activity, is from yesterday's time frame. Down south here, still haven't seen a lot of activity throughout the Kermadec Trench or the Tonga Trench region, New Zealand area. Just kind of spotty movement here recently. Normally that's a little odd. For the most part, we normally see quite a bit of deep movement here at any given time, and we're looking at a standstill for now. Lack of activity could be pointing towards something bigger brewing down deep into those trenches. A couple 5s. Again, these were from, looks like this morning time frame and last night. Latest one shows a 5.0 still. In the near the Port Blair area of India in the Andaman Sea, this area has seen quite a bit of earthquake activity over the past week. 30 earthquakes of moderate magnitude, 5.0, 4.9, quite a few 5s in the mix as well. I still think this could be brewing something much bigger in the region, so it's been ongoing for a while, so got to watch that pretty closely. Middle East and the other areas around the world look pretty quiet. As far as 4.0 and above goes, we know there's earthquake activity here through the EMSC model showing some microquakes, but nothing above 4.0 in the last 24 hours. One earthquake up here around the Puerto Rico Trench. This one from this morning time frame, a 3.9, and some activity around the southwestern edge. Looks like bring the all magnitudes in so we can see more of it. About 20 earthquakes in that sequence of swarming activity. Down here in the South America region, a little activity up here at the subduction zone at the southern end of the Peru-Chile Trench, well south of Santiago, Chile area. Just south of where the large 9-pointer struck back in the early 60s, the world's largest recorded earthquake. Got a 5.5, very shallow earthquake activity there at looks like about 7.1 kilometers below the surface. Big island of Hawaii, See what we got. Whoa, we got one earthquake way up here around the Mauna Kea area, 2.7 at 21 kilometers. Again, we get these crustal Pacific plate earthquakes up here. Probably not associated with volcano activity, but then again, who knows what's going on way down there below. But the most of the time when we see this earthquake activity, it's just Pacific, the Pacific plate here under stress with the islands. The swarm around the big island right here has been ongoing since the 60s at least. Done quite a few videos on this, and there's quite a bit of information on this swarm near Pahala that's been ongoing, like I said, for decades. Still continuing today. Some activity around the Mauna Loa area today. It looks like up around the crater area, pretty shallow surface feature quakes here, 0.8, and over here a little bit further south, got a very shallow one, negative 2.7. Of course, this is higher in elevation here, but still very shallow, right at the surface, 0.8 earthquake there at negative 2.7. Yellowstone National Park, let's go ahead and run over that real quick. Not a whole lot going on here either. Things have been very quiet throughout the Yellowstone supervolcano area. Looking at the seismograph stations here around Holmes Hill, not a lot going on at all. Tremor map last night showed some movement around the southern end of the Cascadia. About 62 epicenters there. Down dip into the Cascadia subduction zone. Tremor activity is not like earthquake activity where it's a sudden release of pressure, but tremor more so like a vibrational shove, if you will. Kind of just like the best way I can describe it is that the Juan de Fuca plate here just slowly being shoved underneath the North American plate, creating this tremor activity, but not a sudden release of pressure like earthquakes would do. Volcanic activity, we'll check out Mount St. Helens real quick here. Look at the recorded seismograph stations here around the September Lobe Dome station. It is a BHC station. Oh, wow, pretty active today, actually. Looks like quite a few small microquakes over the last few hours, overnight as well. These earthquakes that are in this type of signature are distant, or localized, sorry, very localized to this station. Distant earthquakes could look something like this, a little bit more spread out. Again, very sharp, defined well signatures indicating earthquake movement, earthquake activity, very localized to this seismic station. And nothing being reported here by the PNSN network or the USGS, but the activity that is taking place is roughly within this crater area. Let's see what else we got here. Space weather is kind of ramping up. We're waiting on a potential G1 class storm. Waiting because so far it hasn't arrived. It was scheduled to arrive today. 65% chance of higher latitude auroras, geomagnetic storming. But the index right now still shows that things are kind of not happening as planned. So this thing's either running late or it missed us entirely. It was from a coronal hole, this one 97, that's been facing us for a couple days. Wow, it looks like the sun's getting super active in terms of sunspots and coronal holes. So that could make things really, really interesting here if we get a sufficient strong coronal hole facing us, along with a large CME and a large solar, like a massive solar flare. That could really, really, really make things rather interesting. So, but for now, we'll wait for the solar wind stream from 97 to arrive. A couple other sunspots here around the bend and some coronal holes. Let me check the live data here and see what we got. Right now, everything's pretty stable. If you look at the speed for the solar wind, it's very low. It looks like below the 350 kms. But a lot of times when these CMEs or the coronal holes hit, they'll be elevated, such as that. We'll see a rise in the speed, and also we'll notice the interplanetary magnetic field being affected, which is pretty stable right now with these lines being super close together. So we'll see when it hits, if it hits. Detailed forecasts from these folks show that, well, Let's see here. Are expected July 7th, July 8th as effects. Well, it's supposed to be here by now. I mean, technically, this forecast here calls. It should have been here this morning time frame, UTC time, July 6th. We are currently here at 1920 UTC time, so we're well into this category, and nothing, zip, nada is going on with this with the space weather right now. So pretty crazy. But then again, forecasting, solar weather events is kind of similar to forecasting the weather, right? Things change, and that may have just completely missed us, but we'll keep watching it. Solar flare activity, looking at 3053 growing. That's going to be this far side sunspot here around the eastern side of the sun. A couple other sunspots that are now facing us. I don't think these pose any super hazardous flare threats. I think the most likely one is this growing number back over here. And this one potentially, too, has a little bit of growth to it since yesterday. This one here is a good spot to check the prominences here and the solar flares when they do happen. I want to show you guys the example. I don't know when this one was, but that's what these solar flares look like when they pop off. I think that may have been from an X flare. Who knows when. Yeah, it looks like X flare up there on the description. Right now, when was this taken? 7/6/19. Yeah, it's pretty recent. It's kind of taken a long time to get here. I'm in a hurry. I want this thing to hurry up and get here and see what it's going to do. But maybe it's just building up, getting ready to provide us with some cool solar flaring here in the coming days. Right now, solar flare X-ray chart shows pretty minimal conditions. We did have a day or so ago some upper C flares, almost reaching into the M flare category on one of those. And those were, at least one was facing away from Earth. Actually, I believe both of those were. Right now, things are kind of minimal, folks, so we'll see what happens in the near future. But looking at this image here, things are getting stirring up. Sun kind of looks like it's getting ready to do something crazy. We'll definitely keep an eye on it as the days go on. No new update from these folks. That was a couple days old, so... Let's see, what else is there, folks? Let me just double check the earthquake map here real quick again. I think that was kind of weird. Looking at the map here, I think we're back to kind of look at trends. I'm kind of looking at trends right now, how it's been super quiet down here on the Kermadec Trench area, but more so active up here and further to the west near the Andaman Sea and the Java Trench area. I think possibility, there's a couple things that we need to watch for some larger scale deep movement here along the Fiji Islands, the Tonga Trench area, Kermadec Trench. These large deep earthquakes tend to release a little bit of pressure along this area of the Pacific Plate. Right now I still see the west coast and a lot of activity over here along the Cocos and the Nazca Plate area, showing some activity with no activity down here and a lot of activity up here. I think we're just kind of waiting on two spots that could be building up or about ready to release some major pressure around the Java Trench, the Andaman Sea with that swarming, or potentially down here some larger deep earthquake activity. But I think until that happens, we definitely do need to watch the west coast here with all the activity kind of lighting up today along the San Andreas Fault here from about San Francisco. I call it up here too because it's San Andreas Fault does kind of run up here. It's a plate boundary, just because it's called something different up here. You got the Mendocino Fault Zone. It's still the plate boundary right here of the Pacific Plate, and that is pretty active today. So got to watch the west coast with all this activity lighting up. All right, folks, we'll be back a little bit later tonight unless something major or drastic happens. Just got through doing my driver's license renewal here at the DMV. It's goodness, it's a headache. It is a headache. I mean, DMV is always one of those spots that you go into and everyone's complaining about slow service. It's just, goodness, it's, whew. For some reason, I couldn't do mine online either. Otherwise, I would have. But I actually had to go in there and early this morning for about 2 hours and get that taken care of. Had to redo my practice test as well. There's all sorts of different new laws on there that I didn't even know. That just seemed kind of weird. But anyway, all right. Had to vent a little bit because frustration of standing in line for 2 hours at DMV can be a little nerve-wracking, right? I think everyone would agree. Have a good day, folks. We'll chat to you a little bit later tonight. Shout out to the new channel members that have joined this channel. There's a 75,000 subscriber giveaway coming up that everyone's able to enter into. I just got to watch that video here on my channel. Also, for super fans who join this channel as members, they are also doing a separate entry each month. So 75,000 subscriber giveaway is open to all people, subscribers, and the members only. They get a drawing each month. So that's kind of a little perk for being a member of this channel. Not to mention extra videos, extra emojis, extra icons. I think it's worth it to join the channel and be rewarded with some of those perks. Again, the drawings that I'm going to hold for the super fans, you have to be a super fan member, are going to be gift cards, could be free merchandise, could be who knows what. But I think it's worth it, and it's free. So we'll be doing live drawings and whatnot for the super fans, members who join this channel. And I think it's cool. I like giving stuff away, and I like definitely like doing these live drawings on air. So we'll give a shout out tonight to all the super fan members who have joined the channel. And again, if you haven't, I would definitely recommend it. You guys can get a behind scenes of what's going on here besides earthquake activity here at the home front with me and Miss Mimi's. And I'll probably post at least another video today for those members. All right, guys, take care. We'll see you back here tonight with tonight's update video. Peace out, everyone.